52 of them for New York. No longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post-All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You know, this guy is the mad scientist. I mean, he's all about green density. So in my mind, I feel like he's going to have the green speeds dialed in, and the angles needs to land them and all that sort of stuff. I feel like he's going to be in a good spot and playing the course well. And he's going to be hitting less club into a lot of these par threes too. So I just, we're talking about using a live guy. I love Bryson this week. I'm riding with Bryson.
Only on SportsGrid.
This new sports integrity partnership, Genius Sports, is involved in this. More protection.
They said that's going to allow them to beef up their protection and add more integrity monitoring tools to essentially catch bad behavior before it happens. This comes, obviously, after a just ton of scandals we've had across sports betting lately, whether it's the MLB umpire, Pat Hoberg.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live with you on SportsGrid on a beautiful Thursday evening. Kevin Walsh here, 2 hours to go. Major League Baseball board still has some time left in it. We also have 2 NFL preseason games. We have 3 tomorrow and plenty this weekend. But I'm sure many of you fired up and excited as Team USA basketball has advanced to the gold game. The Olympic hoops has continued to deliver. And that is what we are going to put our focus on. I am fired up, no doubt. Let's just take a look at the gold medal count as well as the USA's current count for total medals. Right now, they do have the most. They have the most by a lot. But the race for the United States to have the most total gold medals is a tight one with China, which is why today's win for Team USA basketball was so important. The USA banking on gold in both the men's and women's portion of basketball 5-on-5. USA is into the gold game. The women will play tomorrow, looking to clinch their spot. Certainly the women much bigger favorites than the men, despite the men, of course, being big-time favorites in every game that they've played. And to win this tournament here, again, as you see, just some of the recent medals that they did put on the board. One upset today that did happen against the Olympics for the United States was Noah Lyles, who won the 100-meter, loses in the 200-meter. He was a huge favorite to win that race, better than minus 300 at most books, some books creeping on a minus 500 marker, and he was upset in that, ended up with a bronze medal, Noah Lyles there, but he did win gold in what was an incredible race at the 100 meters, so still what has ultimately been a great Olympics for him. So again, this is the USA medal count. We have that total medal count that we've been talking about here, which has right now that tight race between USA and China, but the total medals race not really close for the United States. In some categories where they've had some upsets and they've not been able to put a gold on the board, as I just mentioned with Noah Lyles, they still find the podium there, put a bronze on the board. Some spots they found silver. So all in all, it's been a strong Olympics for the United States. But let's talk about the basketball. My goodness gracious, man. What a moment. What a basketball game. And what a special, special group we have with this Team USA group. And it absolutely shows that the United States can't afford to send a less-than squad as it pertains to 5-on-5 Olympic basketball on the men's side of things. No way, no how. Too much talent across this country, or across the world, quite frankly. And it was on display here, a 17-point deficit against a team in Serbia who has the best player in basketball. I mean, really, when was the last time the best player at the Olympics wasn't on Team USA? Well, that's the story here with Nikola Jokic, who has an opportunity, mind you, to lead Olympic basketball in points, rebounds, and assists. Not combined. I mean, individually score the most points, have the most rebounds, and create the most assists. He has been absolutely phenomenal. And Bogdan Bogdanovic stepped up, but Team USA locked in on the defensive side and went to what is supposed to be their big three. Steph Curry carried it throughout that first half. 20 points, 6 threes, finishes with 36 total points. 9 made three-point shots. The breakout game that I know I had been waiting on, he cashes a plus 920 ticket to score 20, and he went 16 more than that. He was 14-1 to make 6 threes. Steph, for the first time in this entire Olympic run, was plus money just to make 3, and he tripled that. Speaking of triple, come on now, man, with this LeBron James, how about a triple-double on your head? The fact of the matter is some of you out there are salty about this result because you're still worried about the ghost, right? And you're still worried about GOAT debates. You forgot where you're from during that whole process, didn't you? That's all right. We don't care about you. You're a loser. Move past that. LeBron James puts a triple-double on the board and is nearly minus 1,000 now. 1,000 to win MVP at the Olympics, and rightfully so, because he has been their most consistent player, and that goes back to the build-up games throughout. USA will play France in the gold game, which would have not been surprising if you had told someone this before the Olympics got underway. But a little bit surprising for many when they reset everything and we got out of the group stage. France was 50-1 to win gold, plus 430 to win a medal, and around 8-1, plus 750 to win silver, which is going to be the minimum now for France. An upset of Canada in the first round of the knockout stage, and an upset of Germany, who had not lost a game. A German team that smashed France when they were in the same group together earlier on. Victor Wembanyama and co. get it done on the defensive side of the basketball. Holding Germany to 69 was absolutely incredible. That team total for Germany was well into the 80s for this basketball game. They hold Franz Wagner, who had 7 first-quarter points. He didn't score again until the final 2 minutes of that basketball game. They kept Dennis Schroeder in check, and it sets up now a great goal game between the United States and France. Some early lines are out. Not lines will be moving. 13.5 number right now for that spread. 180 and a hook for your listed total. And, of course, this game is not just going to decide gold, but it will decide a lot more as well. We talk again, total points, total assists, total rebounds, and Team USA numbers. All of a sudden, Steph Curry is in shouting distance to lead Team USA in scoring. Currently, though, that is LeBron James at 71 total points through the 5 games that Team USA has played. We have plenty of time to get to this. We'll talk about this. You know I'll be locked in on this. I'm not with you on the weekend. We'll shoot out any picks and plays. And, again, you know we'll be sitting there, you rooting on and repping the good old U.S. of A. It's going to be Serbia and Germany going head-to-head for that bronze, and both suffered really tough defeats. It's going to be, to some degree tough to get super up for that game, but also there's a lot of pride in putting a bronze medal on the table, man, so don't think that game isn't going to matter. Now let's get to some stuff that doesn't matter. That's NFL preseason, baby. It's not going to stop us from betting on it, though, is it? We've got Giants. We've got Lions. That total is dropping. I'm on under in this game at 35.5. I know earlier today there were 36.5s, perhaps some 34.5s in the market as well. You have bad quarterback play and bad weather. This, for me, is an under here. And I know it's up in the air still if Daniel Jones will play. If he does, I'm not worried about that. All right? But Drew Lock, again, is he going to be out there a ton? Maybe so. Tommy DeVito, it doesn't concern me. For the Lions, it's Hendon Hooker, it's Nate Sudfeld. And while, look, that's fine. I think Hendon Hooker could potentially be interesting, but how much interest is there going to be in Hendon Hooker lighting the world on fire for the Detroit Lions here in a preseason game? His first real action since he tore up his ACL back when he was with Tennessee. Before we get to game number 2, I want to dial in here just some outlooks for these two football teams here. We'll start with the Detroit Lions. Just give you an idea of what the numbers look like here on the Lions. That win total 10.5. This team is a favorite to win the North, but at a plus price, right? This isn't the Kansas City Chiefs to win an AFC West. It's not a Philadelphia Eagles to win an NFC East. Plus 550, though, to win that NFC, a 12-1 number to win the Super Bowl. Much different story on the New York Giants side of things. A 6.5 win total. This team has a plus 950 price of the worst record in football. We're talking 4-1 to make the postseason. It's why a lot of people feel that Daniel Jones is entering this season dead man walking. Now, again, we'll get to the second game on the thing, but the second game on the slate. I do think we should keep eyes on how Drew Lock performs in the preseason. There was some odd chatter. Could Drew Lock potentially take this job off Daniel Jones earlier than people would expect because the Giants need to make sure Daniel Jones isn't injured so they don't have to pay him? We'll see. Time will tell. But with this New York Giants group, the idea is it's a rebuilding one. Will we see Malik Neighbors tonight is another legit question. We'll talk Panthers, Pats, and Major League Baseball with you next on SportsGrid. Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Korn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We're back with you here on SportsGrid. Happy to have you in the mix with us here on a Thursday night. Patriots-Panthers is one of 2 games. This spread's dropping. This was 7 at some spots here for New England. It's now 6.5 down to 6. I am on New England at -6 in this game. They are going to go tonight with potentially 4 quarterbacks in Drake May, Jacoby Brissett, Bailey Zappi, and Joe Milton, who I think all are better than Plummer, who's going to go here for Carolina. No Bryce Young. Little surprised by that. I don't know if that's Canellis' thought process on preseason football or if he's trying to be overly protective of Bryce Young, who I'm super high on coming out of Alabama, thought he was the appropriate choice to go first overall. Obviously, what C.J. Stroud has done is going to make that close to impossible to becoming true. But the fact that he's going cautious with Bryce Young, it's a little surprising. But I think, again, it's going to create this opportunity here to bet the Patriots. I'm not too worried about a big number with a low total. When it comes to preseason football, we see 20-7 as a final score all the time. You want me to ballpark a final score? That's what this is going to be here. I'm thinking 20-7, something along that range here. You could certainly line up an under. We know that these preseason games at times don't go under because while Canellis is going to want to flash some on the offensive side, getting control now of Carolina, he's not out there with his main weaponry, while Gerard Mayo takes over for New England, and he's going to want to flash as well on the defensive side. And what he's going to be able to do in the replacing of Bill Belichick here. So I think this is a good number on New England. Look, how much do you factor in home field advantage for a preseason game? It's a valid question. It's more than 0. It's less than 3. But still, I think that this number at around 6 on a straight-up neutral would probably make sense. You're not going to see it, or at least very rarely are you going to see 8s, 9s in preseason, right? That's reserved for the Ravens at their best, right? Preseason Ravens, I'm talking about, against a team that looks like it's going to be throwing out backup quarterbacks for the entire 4 quarters. Speaking of Baltimore, and there's 3 games tomorrow. I did look through those games. I just want to let kind of people know, and then we're going to dive into some outlooks for these teams here, but the Ravens are home dogs to Philly tomorrow. Now, we're still waiting on official word who's going to play in those games. I do think the total looks light in that game. I think you're getting 34.5. I am looking to play that over. But the Ravens and that streak, which I believe it was last year snapped against the Commanders, that not just, win streak, but the cover streak and everything along those lines. I don't know if people are going to just look to jump off Baltimore there. To see them as a home dog was a little surprising. I think that could be an over game. I have a similar read on Atlanta and Miami. Last year, the McDaniel preseason games played over the number. Atlanta throwing potentially Cousins, but certainly Michael Penix Jr. in that game. You think there should be some juice. And then the other one that, again, I want to wait to get full word on everything that's happening with these teams, but Pittsburgh as a home dog is a little surprising, is it not? I mean, you're talking about a Pittsburgh Steelers team catching 2.5 at home since 2017. This team has been almost impossible to beat in the preseason. Mike Tomlin's sneaky. I mean, he loses 1 preseason game at most a year. Since that point in time, they've won 6 in a row, 8 consecutive at home. Just something to keep your eye on with preseason Friday slate football there. As I know, of course, they'll have you covered right here with Game Time Decisions. Let's just do a little Panthers outlook for people. Year over year, the expectations changed massively for this football team. There was actually a level of excitement around year 1 Bryce Young with Frank Reich, and that win total, I think, was around 7.5. So those expectations were legit in the building, and they were legit by the bookmakers there, but they were too high. So now you see 5.5s here, 8-1 for the worst record. Again, expectations are low for Carolina. They have added, of course, Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, Deontay Johnson. Now all of a sudden, Adam Thielen, instead of needing to be your number 1 wide receiver, gets to be your number 3, 2 wide receiver. It could make things a little bit smoother for Bryce Young, but he is someone that I want to see actually a little bit in preseason. And sometimes it's just a drive, man, but I'd love to see it from Bryce Young. On the other side is the New England Patriots, and this could be more important than, not all of them, but I think that this one is going to be, important here with what we get out of New England in the preseason. You see the totals, 4.5 there for the wins. Again, this team's supposed to have no chance to make the playoffs, minus 2,000. I'm sure they're out already. Their exact last finish in the AFC East, I imagine, is minus 200, minus 250. Ballpark, I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing that that's where that range is going to be for New England there. Why I think, though, the preseason is going to matter is, let's say tonight we get Jacoby Brissett for a quarter. Let's say we get Drake May for a quarter, and Drake May looks markedly better. The fans of New England, and maybe Robert Kraft, are not the most patient bunch. At the end of the day, Caleb Williams is going to start week number 1. Jaden Daniels is going to start week number 1. Off the board next came Drake May. So when Caleb Williams is out there, maybe lighting it up, Jaden Daniels out there, maybe lighting it up, I don't think the Patriots are going to be reserved enough to say, whoa, let's get our kid out there, man. Let's go win football games. The New England Patriots do not like the idea that they are not winning football games. It's from the level of winning that they grew accustomed to. And listen, I understand that once Tom was gone, it wasn't the same, but they still made the playoffs with Mac Jones. And, last year was really the first year that they were absolutely horrific, right, and had themselves a top 3 choice in the NFL draft. What kind of patience are they going to see with Drake May? I'm sure you at this point, if you tune in regularly with us here on Game Time Decisions, have heard me. I'd sit him for a full year. And that's not because I don't believe in Drake May. That's because I believe in sitting a quarterback for a year, especially when you have an opportunity to do so, which is exactly what New England has. Gerard Mayo might have the most job security in football. New England is supposed to do nothing this year, and they've promised him this job. Why are you rushing things if you are the New England Patriots? But again, it's easy for me to say that. If tonight we watch Drake May go out there and light it up for 2 drives, the pressure's going to be put on the New England Patriots to make a switch at quarterback, maybe before we even play in week 1 of the actual NFL season. We're going to jump over to Major League Baseball. By the way, Elly De La Cruz for a run is something I bet. I think that game already started. If he didn't do it in the first inning, get in live there. We'll go through the rest of that baseball slate with you on SportsGrid Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh, we'll be right back. And set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
The top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day, and you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back to right here on Game Time Decisions. I had no idea that Elly De La Cruz actually did get that run across the board. That is absolutely my bad for not mentioning that before that game started. That's on me. It was minus 125 over on DK. Minus 175 on FanDuel. Big disparity usually on those run scored props between the two books. And Elly has been heating up a little bit. That 267 batting average, I'm not sure it really does him justice. We are still waiting on Elly to get to 60 stolen bases, which was kind of from our MLB Future show, which we did a way back, which at some point I probably should kind of do a reset and recap on. And all in all, I'm pretty happy with a lot of the stuff. The one thing I'm not in love with right now is a very recently placed wager, which was Atlanta to win the NL pennant. Part of the reason I was willing to place that bet was just comfortability in Atlanta being in the playoffs. And they came out of the break, immediately lose Ozzy Albies, the Ronaldo Lopez forearm, and then what I thought was a really underwhelming deadline. And they now have a series against the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, they look non-competitive mostly. The Chris Sale start did nothing for them. This team's lost 5 games in a row. They've been jumped by the Mets in the standings, and if the playoffs were to begin today, which they don't, it's an uneven amount of games, they wouldn't be in them. That's just not what I was expecting at all from Atlanta. And, I think 475, 5-1, forgive me for not remembering the number immediately off the top of my head, but it's just frustrating to see. And again, it didn't stop at all today as Milwaukee absolutely pummeled them. 16-7. It was 8-0 heading into the bottom of the third inning of that game here. What's coming up on this baseball slate? I did play the Blue Jays-Orioles game under the 9. That total a little higher than I had anticipated there with Gausman going against Kremer. Now, in some respects, I get it, right? If you're big into home road splits, which I wouldn't ignore, but they're not the end-all, be-all for me, at least as kind of I continue to go through things more and more. It does matter, but Gausman's bad at home, so I think that could influence it. And we know that Kremer at times struggles, but I think you got a pair of guys in bounce-back spots where I don't find this Toronto lineup now overly threatening. The deadline didn't help them at all, and that was intentional. And we know Baltimore can certainly jump on teams, but they've not been, I feel, as dangerous as we had grown accustomed to maybe within the last, 10 days, 14 days so of Major League Baseball. But for me, I'm playing under 9 in that game. That's at -110 juice. Outside of that, we have a Yanks game against the Angels. I'd lean under in this game here between Cortez and Anderson right now. That total has dropped a little bit from 8.5 down to 8. I was kind of hoping it would be a little bit lower and actually sneaking over out at the 8, though. That's why it's not on my card here with Anderson going against Cortez. But Anderson's starting to leak a little bit of oil. Maybe some Aaron Judge props if you can find them on the discount there. Gibson against Baz. It's, again, a little bit of a tough game. If you like any of the lefties in that St. Louis lineup, Baz maybe has some numbers you can look to take advantage of there. Potentially some Alec Burleson props for people in that one. I'm going to be continuing to root against Tampa Bay in every game that they play with that updated win total under that we placed at the deadline there. We have a Tigers starter announced. Finally, it's going to be Hanafi here going against Brian Wu. We're going to talk in just a little bit with Josh Inglis, though, right here on Game Time Decisions. He's locked in for that game, so excited to see what he has. And we'll see if he has any action as well for the late one between Arizona and Philadelphia. It's a great game here for some player props. Again, I was waiting a little bit to get our starting lineups on the board. They are for both of these teams. Some of the early target guys there are obvious, but they're still the right guys. Ketel Marte, Lourdes Gurriel, Trey Turner, and JT Realmuto are all guys that are kind of early circle-ups here for me within that baseball game. But it's about figuring out how you want to play it. Can you get a good number on hits, runs, RBI? Do you look for an RBI prop? Do you play a run scored prop? That's kind of the stuff that you got to balance through there. But Jordan Montgomery, absolutely atrocious against righties. That has been the case all season long. And Colby Allard, while not a huge sample size, 8 innings only so far this season, but he has struggled against the righties and hardly a pedigree guy, so I wouldn't mind fading him with top-end talent like Ketel Marte and Lourdes Gurriel, who have just been excellent this season going up against left-handed pitching. So those are a couple of items from that baseball slate. But let's get some insight from Josh Inglis, who's going to join us here momentarily. We are live with you. We are on SportsGrid. We're dialed in for a Thursday night. Major League Baseball plus the NFL preseason. It's all happening, and we have it covered for you right here on SportsGrid. Back in just 2 minutes. Next, it's Game Time Decisions. try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
All right, live with you right here. Game Time Decisions on a Thursday night. We're joined by Josh Ingles. You can find his work over at Covers. You can find him on Twitter at Covers_Josh. Josh, appreciate you making some time here for us on a Thursday night.
Happy to be here, Kev. Thanks for having me on, pal.
Let's talk a little bit about this game between the Tigers and the Mariners here. It's a 9:40 East Coast start time with Brian Wu getting on the board. When we think about this Mariners team and this rotation, I guess one of the things that people used to carry extra weight is, man, Brian Wu's the 4th guy, and he's pitching to this 2 ERA. But I saw the tweet. You might be looking to fade him tonight. Talk to me about that.
I just think this is a volume thing. I think they think his volume's going to be too much versus a bad lineup. And I think pretty much his unders across the board are pretty well in the markets dictating that early today. Was on his under 17.5 outs this morning, plus 110. I mean, if you're a buyer, you got to buy early for MLB props right around that before 9:30 timeline, before all the tools and everybody gets in it and finds those projections. But that's down to like minus 103. Also on his under 4.5 hits against at plus 115. That's now down to minus 154. So happy to be on the right side of that market. But they might sound counterproductive to bet against both of those, the under hits and the under hits allowed. But when you're, when you're projecting low volume for a guy who is coming off a season high 92 pitches, had never pitched into the 7th inning this year. He threw 22 more pitches than his previous start. I think we're laying too much into what his last start really was. And this is a guy who's battled injuries and was averaging 71 pitches per start over his 10 before that 7-inning game. So Wu, the matchup is hiding the value versus the Tigers, obviously, but I like the under 17.5 outs. I'll still take the minus 103 projected around 16.5, but the under 4.5 is probably a little too tough to buy now. But find it, find the ugly value somewhere, and project everything through pitch count because that's where the value is.
Yeah, Josh, it's a great find by you, and I mean it's almost inexplicable the 1-game jump there. The prior 5 starts, the high was 73. So you're talking a 20-pitch jump against the Philadelphia Phillies. If that goes right back to the level, I mean, he really shouldn't even necessarily get kind of close to the numbers that you're talking about. And also, this is where, we talk bounce back and sell high, but it might be a scenario where this Mariners staff is like, hey, capped out, 5 innings. I don't care if you're at 45 pitches and dealing. We're not letting you extend beyond that. It makes a lot of sense.
100%. And this is a guy who's battled injuries all year and has gone, I think he's done 2 stints already, gone ready. He looks great. I mean, his command stuff, you got to give Seattle pitching coach a lot of prop for George Kirby's a guy who has a walk total at 0.5. Like, these guys don't walk. They're great pitchers, but that's priced into this fact. Everybody thinks he's a great pitcher, but guess what? He's great, but his leash isn't going to be long. 22 pitches previous, more than his last start is wild. You usually put a number around 15 if guys are building up. We'll talk about Jordan Montgomery, but that's kind of where we get to. Like, guys who are doing rehab starts, you can pencil them for about 15 pitches plus when they go from rehab or first starts after injury, and 22 is a lot.
Yeah, all right, let's talk a little about St. Louis and Tampa here. St. Louis has been helping me out. I took a Rays updated win total under at the deadline, and they were kind of doing classic Tampa stuff where they were selling off but still winning because this is who the Rays are. So I'm looking for St. Louis to continue to handle business here and push Tampa to 500. What are you looking for in this game?
Kyle Gibson's kind of like an overrated average pitcher. Another spot where the Tampa Bay, I'm glad you touched on it, the Tampa Bay lineup has not rolled over. I mean, they're 5-5, but they haven't really quit. Great hitting conditions in St. Louis. Can't say that for a lot of places. A lot of rain like in New York, and obviously the game we saw, the Washington game earlier today, but 90-plus degree heat in St. Louis. I love betting on heat games. And Gibson, even though I'm on the wrong side of the number here, I'm not afraid to say it, under 17.5 outs, got that at plus 110. I think you can find it plus 115, plus 120. This is a guy who's gone over this number just 2 times over his last 7 starts. He owns a 5.4 ERA across those 7 starts, and he hasn't even really played anybody. Atlanta times 2, and we've seen, and you touched on it very well, how scared Atlanta and that offense should be. Chicago Cubs times 2, Washington times 2, and Pittsburgh times 2, and he managed to hit the over just twice over those 7 matchups. So there's a lot to like. He's allowed 21 runs over his last 6 home starts. And you also, Kev, I'll tip the cap. You touched on those splits. Love pitcher splits because there's a big difference between pitching on like your own mound versus a visiting mound. But he's not even pitching well on his home mound, on his home bump, projected for 16.8 outs. So anything basically plus money is pretty good here for 92 pitches on the projection for Gibson, who honestly, let's face it, is a league average pitcher.
Yeah, and I know you're sticking with some other pitching angles there. Talk to me about the play in the Orioles-Blue Jays game again. I played this under 9. I can't have either guy get blown up, which is certainly a live option between Gausman and Crumry here. What are you looking for in this game?
Kind of in the same angle that we were talking about Detroit, how nobody likes that offense. Nobody really likes the Toronto offense either, right? You're kind of paying a tax to bet against it, but Dean Kremer here, under 17.5 outs, got it this morning, minus 115. It's moved to 16.5, minus 135 on some sharp books, but I wouldn't play it much shorter than where it is. I probably wouldn't play it at the 16.5, but this is a guy who projects for 15.4 outs today on a leash of 87 pitches. He's 7-3 to the under on this prop in his last 10 starts, and I think this gutted Toronto offense is slightly too priced in here. They got a great bullpen. He doesn't get deep, and when we talk about floors and ceilings, Kremer is a guy who has not gone more than 18 outs in 9 straight starts. So if he gets there, he just barely gets there. So worth the bet there. If you can get it, the 16.5 is kind of like no man's land, but maybe if you get the 16.5 at about minus 110, minus 105, then I think there'll still be something there. It's just in fact like nobody wants to bet on the Jays offense. So there's a little value, and especially how deep that Baltimore bullpen is. They won't be afraid to pull something, especially with how tight things are getting in the AL.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Again, that's such an odd race between Baltimore and the Yankees, though, because, again, we've seen the home field advantage not be a big benefactor there, but there's still pride in winning your division, and I think you'd rather play more games in your park in the postseason than the opposing park. We've been alluding to Jordan Montgomery, and look, it's a fascinating thing. I've been really slow to give Arizona the credit that they've earned from the books with their big win streak here. But that's not necessarily going to change when I look at this game. I kind of can't believe Jordan Montgomery's minus 120 against this Philadelphia Phillies team. I'm going to look for a couple of props on the big names, Trey Turner, Ketel Marte. What are you going to look for here?
It is telling to see where that money line is, because even Jordan Montgomery's earned run prop is 2.5 minus 140 to the over. So obviously maybe this is a spot where both teams to score 4 runs, one of those props where you could probably get for somewhere around like plus 130, plus 135. But Montgomery is just kind of a plug. Let's face it. Like he's a guy who doesn't throw anything past you. If his changeup's off, he's absolutely brutal and doesn't miss bats. And this is a guy, I'm on his over 5.5 hits allowed. Again, fine early in the morning, got that at plus money. It's now about minus 140. Still showing a little value to the over on the projection of like 6.5 hits allowed. So a full hit allowed over. This will be his fourth start back from injury. And I think some of these things are kind of hiding where it is. 67 pitches was his first start, but he didn't have any rehab starts. So that was just kind of like throw him right out there, see how it goes. It was a great game to bet him on the under. Then he goes 78. Okay, he gets that 11. And then 53 in his last start, but that was rained out. Okay, so he projects somewhere to the mid to high 80s, which is a low pitch count to begin with, but with the over 5.5 hits allowed versus, I mean, if he has to face Kyle Schwarber three times, if he has to face, I mean, Harper's in an absolute slump, but maybe Monty's the kind of slump buster that he can get it through. 1.3 hits per inning he's averaged this year, Kev. It's ugly. He's been off. He's been injured. I don't really see him coming back strong, and I'm betting against him today for sure.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense there. Josh, great stuff, brother. Again, make sure you get him on Twitter, X. I hate the X. At @covers_Josh. Josh, appreciate it. We'll link up again soon.
I appreciate it, Kev. Good luck with your bets tonight. Later, pal.
All right, you too, man. That's Josh English there over on Covers. Again, at @covers_Josh. Great stuff there, helping us out with the baseball board. We're talking football with Casey Hudson next. Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching him, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
All right, live right here on a Thursday night. We have football around the corner, preseason action. Get excited, people. Are you kidding me? Jake Plummer, Nate Sudfeld. I mean, the stars are out. All right, maybe not for the NFL, but the stars are out here on Game Time Decisions. Casey Hudson joins the show. Casey, good to talk to you here with some football around the corner.
Hello, Kevin. It's so good to chat with you. I'm excited that football season's finally here. Just about. Season's not as hyped as what we have to look forward to.
I know betting preseason is always tricky, and some people actually kind of just hand wave it, which is understandable. Are you involved with either game here? New England, a 6-point favorite against the Carolina Panthers. Giants laying 3.5 to the Detroit Lions.
Well, I'm looking at this Lions-Giants game, and a few things here is that quarterback matchup that's going to take place. You've got the excitement behind possibly Locke and DeVito, Mr. Italy, getting some snaps here. But then you also have Nate Sudafeld, who struggled a little bit last year. They're going to want to see what he can offer in that backup position. But what I like about the Lions here is actually the depth that they have. There's a lot of competition going on in the wide receiver room, which means there's going to be a lot of looks that the Lions have to see here, which I think can make it more of an interesting game. So I got the Lions at plus 4.5 and a nice under 39.5 alt total plus of 158. So I think that what the Lions need to gauge here is going to be a little bit more crucial and kind of produce better than the Giants.
Now, Casey, tell me, what is your read on this Detroit team? It's kind of easy because it gets lost in the wash a little bit, but this is a Lions team who, not that they deserve to win the game, but they were in an incredible position to win that NFC Championship game, up 24-7 at half on the Niners. They would have played a Kansas City team. While I know they would have been an underdog, they did beat them week 1 in Arrowhead. I know no Kelsey, the Chris Jones holdout. I get all that. But it's a Lions team that we look at, and when we throw out the top Super Bowl contenders, they're probably mentioned a tier underneath that. Do you have any strong feelings or things you're looking for with the Lions heading into this season?
Yeah, I definitely have some strong feelings towards it because in a number of ways, don't miss the headline of, but the Lions did beat themselves in some aspects of the game. The talent is there, the coach is still there. The roster that got them as far as they did last year is still very much intact. And as I mentioned moments ago, you've now got an even more electrifying wide receiving group to kind of weed out here. And you've got options for Jared Goff that has something to prove. So between Campbell, Golf, and company, I think we should be putting a little bit more respect on what the Lions will bring into this season and the questions they have that it can be that not only gets to that special game, but probably supersedes and moves past a Kansas City Chiefs team that I don't really have as high as everybody else does in this season.
I think it's going to be a really interesting year for Detroit when you kind of take a look at the state of that NFC North. Last season, this team, and again, give them all the credit in the world, but it was a much different looking NFC North, right? A Green Bay Packers team that took a long time to get into the rhythm that they were able to get into in the second half of the year. Minnesota lost Kirk Cousins through the midway point. And then, of course, the Chicago Bears were a real mess for the first half of that season. The defense came on a little bit stronger. All of a sudden now, again, Jordan Love is a guy that's talked about as one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the conference. And Caleb Williams is a guy that a lot of people are excited about. All of a sudden, you have a scenario, and I know some people like Jared Goff. This division now, year over year, might have dropped Goff down to the 3rd best quarterback, potentially, right? And if you're really high on J.J. McCarthy, maybe you can have a really interesting conversation there. On the other side of the field, Casey, it's the New York Giants who are, it's seemingly in no man's land because the expectations aren't high. Their quarterback in Daniel Jones, not many believe is still live to be the quarterback of the future. What's your read on the Giants situation right now?
Still kind of a hot mess, unfortunately. As I mentioned, you've got probably Locke and DeVito getting to those snaps tonight and kind of gauging where they're at. I know there was a lot of hype around DeVito last year, but this is a guy that also faced 37 sacks through 9 appearances. You don't really trust a guy that can't stay on his feet in this situation. And there's questions at the offensive line. There's no depth there either. So like their quarterbacks are being put in the best position to perform either. So there's just so many moving pieces. And every time they pick up a player, you're still trying to figure out or make sense of the decision and how this formulates their roster to even compete. So I agree with the sense that we have no idea what to expect from the Giants. They just tend to kind of sneak in there here and there. They've got some really strong defensive players that make it exciting to watch them every once in a blue moon, but they still have a lot to figure out, starting with their quarterback, moving into that offensive line in terms of who's going to help their quarterback perform and who wants to stick around on this Giants roster so that they can finally grow and progress towards a team that can compete maybe in the next 2 to 4 seasons.
Yeah, the Giants, and you see those numbers there, huge favorites to miss the playoffs. And, yeah, again, I don't really know. Again, they'd have to probably make the playoffs, finish 500. I don't know what that could really be done to save Daniel Jones's job. I'll just ask you quickly, Casey, before you get out of here. New England, Carolina. Any optimism for either one of those teams heading into this year?
Not too much. There might be some around the Patriots. You've got Jared Mayo, who the Patriots team and franchise is just embedded in him. Played with him for seasons. Defensive guy, obviously, is a former linebacker, and he's got pressure on his shoulders to make sure this team performs as the successor of Bill Belichick, one of the best coaches out there. So you've got Brissett, who obviously has great backup QB abilities. We've seen him prove himself in that instance. And then you've got Mayo, May, so many M names, who wants to prove that he is ready to compete in the NFL. A lot of people thought he should have played in college, and that's kind of putting a bad taste in his mouth. We know that Brissett's going to take most of the snaps tonight, which will get them moving along in this game. I understand the spread. Love an alternate -7.5 plus money of 116 because they're going to allow Brissett to kind of drive the bus here. But I think that they're going to kind of be one of those teams that are going to be working out the kinks. They've got a lot to figure out on both sides of the ball. I don't have high expectations of either team, really, and two brand new head coaches to the game.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun season still, I think, for New England with all those moving pieces, even if it doesn't lead to a lot of wins. Casey Hudson joined us here. Game Time Decisions, excellent stuff. Casey, we'll talk soon. Be right back after this quick break. Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rourke, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with everybody right here on SportsGrid. Just to reset the card and let everybody know where I'm at heading into tonight's action. New England Patriots -6 against the Carolina Panthers. Let me grab you updated lines just in case we've seen anything bounce around here from book to book. 6.5, so varying a little bit on that line. Those 7s are gone, though. I don't think those are coming back, which is understandable there. But still 6 at another spot. 34.5 looks to be the legitimate total for that one. And then Giants-Lions, it's a 3.5 spread. Pretty much anywhere you go. Total did jump back up, 36.5 at one spot. I did end up getting 35.5. I hope that does not land 36 because that's moved around a little bit there, but I am on the under in that game. Look, the New England cap is, look, quarterbacks are what everybody starts with, right, when it comes to stuff like this. But it's not just your first quarter quarterback, it's throughout the game. I think the New England Patriots have a quarterback advantage during the entirety of this game, no matter who is out there. I don't care if Plummer plays the full game. I'll take Jacoby, Drake May, Bailey Zappi, or Joe Milton. I will. So this, to me, is a big-time advantage for New England here. You want a final score prediction? I'll give you 20-7. I'm on Giants-Lions under. Look, there is bad weather here. Locally, we're here. Not great, right? Again, hope everybody's safe out there. I know there's kind of the hurricane going on, but there's bad weather that we got going on. You have no top weapons out there. And this is where preseason kind of plays tricks on people. It's like, oh, man, Drew Lock might play a half. And Drew Lock is not good. What are we talking about? Oh, Tommy DeVito. And Tommy DeVito's not good, right? So that's fine. Hendon Hooker's interesting, but it's his first real game action since the torn ACL at Tennessee. Nate Sudfeld, okay. This, for me, is an under. If you really want year over year, they played in the preseason last year. 37 points. There was a touchdown at the 2-minute mark, a field goal that came off a turnover. The ball wasn't even moved, and a 95-yard punt return touchdown, and the game was indoors. So I'm happy to play under 35.5. I'm on that Blue Jays-Orioles under 9 in that baseball game coming up. And we're going to look to get some action on the board between the Phillies and the Diamondbacks before we get out of here. Quick update with the Olympics, because, look, these numbers, and I am trying to just kind of keep tabs on them. They're going to pop. They have, again, posted game odds. USA's up to a 16-point favorite against France, 175.5 listed total. I think that total's dropped a lot since the very first opening number. Germany, a 1-point favorite against Serbia, total 169.5 in that game. What has been reposted is the MVP market, minus 850 LeBron. I'm on LeBron. I think, look, early read, if you want it, and it's probably smart, I give it to you. I think USA rolls. I don't know if 16 is a great number, though. I was hoping we would get something a little bit lighter, so I'm not sure I'm looking to lay that number. I think the lineup changes that they made, France, obviously it's worked to get them here. They will not work against the USA. And the fact that Rudy Gobert is going to ride Pine in that one, that's benefit USA. I really believe that. And I also just think this team had their scare, right? So I think you're going to see Lenti. I think USA is going to roll. So I'm not going to look to kind of go with a Wemby bet here or even a money line bet here on France. I'm trying to figure out if there's anybody that can snag MVP off LeBron. It's very tough to believe that's the case, though. LeBron right now is joint leader for total assists at the Olympics with Nikola Jokic. He leads this team in total points scored right now at the Olympics, which is a little bit surprising. And on the rebound end of it, he's their leading rebound as well. So, and he's wildly efficient. It's hard to believe that somebody other than LeBron would win it unless you see Steph go for another 30-point performance, which would be pretty surprising. But I have some Steph Curry, Team USA leaders, Olympic leader scoring bets that may not require me to kind of jump off of that there. I want to see what they do. Just one number to keep your eyes on is the odds to lead the Olympics in rebounding. Jokic had 5 rebounds today, and it let Wemby now sit just 1 rebound off the total lead. Jokic was around minus 210 in that race against Wemby. If that drops minus 120 or less, that's going to be something I have my eyes on for the updated leaders. Again, I'll tweet all that out to everybody. You guys already know that. We've been doing it throughout the Olympics, of course, with the different start times, so we will be dialed in there as well. Preseason football is about to get underway. Let's talk more football with Adam Kaplan, an NFL insider, coming up next right here, and get some thoughts around the Philadelphia Eagles. A big retirement today for what is ultimately an Eagle legend, and some more quarterback questions with the Birds. That's next right here on SportsGrid. try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
All right, live right here, Game Time Decisions, NFL preseason action about to get underway with the Pats and the Panthers and the Giants and the Lions. To talk some more football with us, it's NFL insider Adam Kaplan. Cap, always good to have you.
Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, look, we do have 2 games. One looks like they'll have a little bit of rain there in East Rutherford. The other one should be okay in Foxborough, though. Look, one of the things, if people look at these lines and what could happen in preseason, the starters play very little in the first preseason game, if they play at all. It just you need to know that when you're trying to handicap these games.
Yeah, Cap. You know, let me actually start there because I do want to ask you about Foles and Hurts, and we'll get to that. But,
sure.
You know the league so well. Do you feel like teams are playing guys maybe a little bit more in preseason now that the preseason's been condensed, even if it's not a lot, but teams are at least willing in game number 1 to throw out their starters in the first quarter?
I would say yes, depending on the team. Like Sean McDermott, the Bills head coach, made it pretty clear the starter's going to play a little bit in the preseason, particularly in the first game, because he thinks that they need the work. See, I think that's really what it comes down to. Do you think your players need the work? If they don't, and you don't want to take a risk, they don't play at all. Andy Reid, when he was in Philly, I remember asking him, he said, my job is to get my players to the first game of the season. Whereas in Kansas City, the starters may play. They have in the past where they've played in the preseason. It's just that, like Sean McVay, the starters don't play at all. It really comes down to, Kevin, the belief, sometimes from a sports science standpoint, injury risk. Then do you need it? Like, if you're a first-round rookie, you're going to play, barring something unforeseen. Like, Jane Daniels needs to play. Now, Caleb Williams didn't play in the first one, in the Hall of Fame game, because they have that extra game. He's playing this week. Again, the rookies, the undrafted free agents, low-round picks, they really need to play, and they will.
Let me ask you, Cap, are you surprised that Bryce Young isn't playing tonight for Carolina then under that idea?
Yeah, now, he's a second-year quarterback, but he does need the work. They've got a lot of new passing targets. And by the way, Dave Canales, the head coach of the Panthers who will call the plays, he's bringing a West Coast scheme, which, by the way, has done very well in the NFL. That is like the rage now, the West Coast scheme and the timing-based kind of throws and so forth. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. You're going to see Jake Luton, by the way, tonight for Carolina. And the kid Plummer, the undrafted free agent out of Louisville, they're the only 2 healthy quarterbacks. Andy Dalton's not healthy enough; he cannot play. So, that's the issue that you have these are guys, and this is what coaches would always tell me, Kevin, you're playing so many backups. Like your offensive line should not be playing the first team offensive line to protect a backup quarterback. Usually you want to match it up with your first team offense.
Yeah, speaking of backups, is he the best backup of all time? I mean, considering the way it ended up, Cap, Nick Foles did retire today.
Yep.
I bring it up because it's in the news, and you know everything that's gone on with that Eagles organization so well, and I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on Nick Foles calling it a football career.
Really one of the most remarkable stories. I'm going to give you a nugget here. So the 2012 draft, the Eagles were going to draft Russell Wilson. Okay, that was their plan. They decided not to trade up. They thought they'd get him. Seattle foiled their plan. And Andy Reid, who had personnel control then, he made a decision that Nick Foles, who they had a lower grade on, I believe it was the 5th round, somewhere around there, was certainly not a 3rd round grade. He said, we're taking the quarterback. And someone who was in the room said, what, Coach, we don't have a quarterback here. He goes, we're taking Nick Foles. That's the guy that he wanted. And then Andy, unfortunately, was let go, and he went to Kansas City, and how that's worked out pretty darn well. And look, Nick Foles had an unbelievable one season, as you know, in 2013. Kevin, you're an Eagles fan, with Chip Kelly, 26 touchdowns, I think, and 2 interceptions. And the fans were like, "Oh my gosh, he's got to be our starter of the future. You got to extend his contract." Remember, after the 14 season, the fans were begging the Eagles to extend his contract, and smartly they didn't. I think Nick, let's be honest about it, Kevin, was a product of the Chip Kelly system. No one could really figure out in 2013, but they sure as heck did in 2014. And then the story would move on. Nick would go to the Rams, sign that big deal. Then he would unfortunately get hurt. He signed that big deal, as you know, with the Jaguars. That was a massive deal. After he was a Super Bowl hero, as you know, he was incredible. And it didn't work out for him. He got hurt. And there was a time, by the way, he was going to actually retire after the Rams cut him, before Andy Reid signed him. Andy Reid talked him out of retiring. He's had an incredible career. We've got that statue with Doug Peterson, the former head coach, calling Philly special, and Nick going like this, looking at the clipboard. So, yeah, that it is really a remarkable career and a great person, by the way, Nick Foles, and a great story. A lot of people don't know that he was a transfer to Michigan State. He didn't go there at first, but really a remarkable story. And for a guy that, quite frankly, when Carson Wentz towards the ACL in the 17th season, I got to tell you, Nick Foles did not play well. Up until the championship game against Minnesota. If you talk to the Eagles, Kevin, they weren't totally sure how he was going to play, and obviously he was great against Minnesota and lights out one of the best games in NFL history in the playoffs for a quarterback against the Patriots.
The one thing that I will say with Foles is I am somewhat surprised that run, and look, it was lightning in a bottle, and you're right to bring up the fact that the thought going into the playoffs was this is not going to go well, right? I think it was the Raiders on Christmas, right? I mean,
Correct.
It just and the game against the Falcons, that's where being an Eagle fan kicks in, right? Like you can remember the exact team.
Yep.
But I just feel like at times contenders still don't value the backup quarterback position enough. And it's interesting, but it's still kind of the way the league works, where use Cincinnati as an example. When Burrow went down, it's all right, we can give, Jake Brown, he can have a game or two, but we're done here, right? Cincinnati, and that's kind of how it works. To go to the Eagles in their current situation, Cap, there's been some reporting out there. Now, this isn't presently, but the back end of last year, that there was real tension between Hurts and Sirianni.
Right.
And I see that, and I think to myself, well, that's not surprising. I mean, the back end of that season couldn't have gone worse in every single way that all played out. I think it's probably more important how the relationship is now, but what are your thoughts, and what have you heard around the relationship between head coach and quarterback?
All right, I think it was, I don't want to call it distant. I would say they were not on the same page. There was a major disconnect based on the information I gathered since the season ended. Because anyone who covers the league, who looks at it from a national basis, and the Eagles are what we call a national team, you want to know what the heck happened. You as an Eagles fan want to know what the heck happened. So to me, I think there was a disconnect. Jalen got paid. He wanted more responsibility, which he should after his, as you know, an incredible run in 2022. And then if you remember the season before that, they were looking at acquiring Deshaun Watson from the Texans, and the Cleveland got him, and the Eagles smartly did not get him. But the bottom line is Jalen had a great year. He wanted more responsibility. He didn't get that. And Sirianni, who wasn't calling plays, wanted his scheme to continue to run. It did, and there was no flexibility with it. And there was a clash of what guys wanted. It was Jalen and what Nick wanted. And I think in that ESPN piece, which I encourage people to read, I think it's very accurate based on what I know. And I could just tell you that behind the scenes, they just didn't agree on the way that things should look. Now, they've had a pretty good offseason from what I understand. And Kellen Moore, by the way, this is a great hire. And what's so funny, Kevin, is Kellen Moore interviewed for the same job that Nick Sirianni got. They both interviewed for the head coaching job in 2021, which is kind of crazy. And I give Nick credit. He hired him, and Kellen Moore's got a great scheme. As I could tell you, that he's a very aggressive play caller. And this is a completely different scheme that Jalen's been in. And one other nugget for you, Jalen actually put this out. This is his 8th different play caller he's had in his career, going back to high school.
Man, I don't know where I saw that for the first time, Cap. But someone pointed out, going back, you're right, high school, college, It changed every year. Get this guy some continuity. You would imagine it could go a long way. I know we wanted to get into some Falcon stuff, but I know you're super busy, and we still have plenty of time. So we will do just that eventually. But, Cap, appreciate you making some time for us here on a Thursday night. If you are going to watch the preseason, hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, look, I actually tape all of them. Yeah, I will, because I'm always looking for those bottom-end players and see what kind of surprises. You never know. You be as an Eagle fan, right? You never know when there's going to be a Corey Clement, an undrafted free agent, who could help you win a Super Bowl. You know that.
Yeah, it's a great point. I do appreciate always a good reminiscing on that Super Bowl run. Cap, excellent stuff. We'll talk some Olympic basketball next. And set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
The top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rourke, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Game Time Decisions, man. We are locked in here with you. Kevin Walsh, joined by Brian Fonseca. And, man, Brian said it appropriately. Almost a very different conversation we were going to have here today. Instead, the conversation is, man, USA just cannot cover. Man, I'll tell you this, Brian. Open slate. Your main takeaway from the USA-Serbia game?
My main takeaway is that the conversation should not be the world is catching up to Team USA. The conversation should be that the world is here and can beat Team USA. Because Team USA has their guys. No excuses. Sure, Jimmy Butler is not on the team. Kawhi Leonard is not on the team. Like, you could pick a couple guys. Serbia's missing people too. Nikola Topic is not on the team, for example, and he's supposed to be somebody that's going to be really good in the pros once he gets healthy. Nemanja Bjelica is not on the team. Boban Marjanovic is not on the team. He's a little older now, but still, he was on the Serbian national team as a representative as recently as a few years ago. Like, everybody's missing somebody. It just is what it is. And this was a game that if Serbia's shooting doesn't fall off a cliff in the fourth quarter, we could have had a very different show, because that three-point shooting was steady. It was 50% going into the final quarter. It fell to 38% by the end of the game. With the start that they had, it's ridiculous. So all this talk about Serbia played a perfect game and still lost, like they almost did. But Team USA shooting was just better. And listen, Team USA had to dig deep for this, and this is why this game was so special, because you want to see the best tested. This is why they should be sending these players to the World Cup too. And Team USA is bragging on social media saying we don't play for bronze when they just played for bronze last year in the World Cup and lost to Canada. But I suppose that they don't care about that because they only seem to value the Olympics, which is stupid. But you literally just played for a bronze medal. So way to shit on, the accomplishment that Canada had last year.
Right. I guess it is interesting that they are hand-waving everything outside of the Olympics. I actually think, to some degree, Brian, the takeaway is, if you are the, Grant Hill, we have to show up with this caliber of team, if we can, every time. This group being, so that's kind of the thing, right, is this group being here was a special thing, because LeBron, Durant, Steph, and when we thought he was going to play, Kawhi being here was a bit surprising, right?
Yes.
Just age-wise, you thought they were phased out of the whole thing. And the fact that they all showed up was like, man, this is awesome. But it kind of is a wake-up call that in 2028, tell you what, if he's still playing, you better bring LeBron. I'm going to be honest with you. You really should. Because I'm serious. I'm serious, Brian.
Listen,
you better bring him.
And I know it's going to be in LA. So, we're talking about 4 years from now.
It gives it a little chance, doesn't it? Since it's in LA, it gives it a little bit of a chance that he might.
He's going to be 43 at that point. Who was the last 43-year-old player in the NBA? Was it Kevin Willis? Like, I don't know if LeBron is going to,
Can I ask you this, though, in all seriousness? If you had to guess, 43-year-old LeBron is the what best player in the world? 21st?
He'd still be playing over Jason Tatum? Probably.
Here's
the thing. Here's the other part of this. Yeah. The other part of this, people, and this is the other thing that's going around on social media, is people are, let's celebrate Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry, this era, And I'm looking at y'all I'm looking to fade Team USA in 2028 because, Cooper Flagg is going to be on that team. Yeah, Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton. All right. We'll really put to the test at that point, where the world is, Europe specifically, but where the world is and where Team USA is. That's going to be really interesting.
I'll tell you what's so damn funny, Brian, and it was something that really bothered me when it was happening. But when LeBron and then Steph and Durant were eliminated from the playoffs, right, everyone ran to go, oh, my God, passing of the torch.
Yeah.
And then literally we get here, and it's like, oh, wow, those guys stink. Thank God LeBron, Steph, and Durant are still here. It is remarkable kind of how that all happens here. My question for you with kind of this Team USA team, right, because we got to do the France-Germany stuff and probably some big picture Serbia, but the way that this game played out, there are going to be some people who go, they just had to flip a switch. They won 1 out of the 3 quarters. My takeaway is, are they 15 points better than Serbia? Yes, I think they are. But they have to show up in order to be 15 points better than Serbia consistently, and in a 10-game sample size, they're not going to win all 10. They're not going to win 9 out of 10. It's probably 7 or 8 with a really close one like we saw here.
I hit Serbia 17 plus 17.5 immediately. Like, I think Serbia's actually underperformed a little bit in this tournament up until this point. This is probably the best game they played, and they beat Puerto Rico by 41 points. But matchup wise, that's just a light one for them. And Puerto Rico, those are my guys. But like Serbia is just a matchup problem for them stylistically. The Team USA matchup, it was interesting that the line was where it was. I jumped on it immediately because I was like, all right, Serbia's due for a good shooting performance. They have shot 32% before this game, shot 32% in the Olympics. One game shooting above 32% in the Olympics, which was 50 plus against South Sudan. Everything else was 32 and under or 31 and under. So 32% in the Olympics shooting wise. In Eurobasket 2 years ago, they were north of 40%. Last year in the World Cup, they were 38%. They were a better shooting team that they showed, and that showed in this game. Like, this was really a regression to the mean. Like, this was actually closer to what they're supposed to be, and at their best, they could push basically anybody in the world. And I still think Germany is really the second best team in the tournament, despite what we saw today against France. But the game's also in France. So, like, to me, Germany would have been the most interesting test for Team USA, not Canada. I feel like Canada, stylistically, they don't have the size. They were a little bit overrated. And I think Team USA they could play NBA basketball against Canada, which it's harder to do that against some of these other teams, as we're seeing.
I'm going to go a couple more questions for you. That's really interesting. We're back with Brian Fonseca.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, game time decisions. One final thing on the USA-Serbia, because I want to make sure we get to France-Germany and kind of the France-USA. Not that he deserves all the credit singularly, but Nikola Jokic has the chance to lead the Olympics in total points, total rebounds, total assists. After he won the MVP last year, I was like, yeah, listen, we know that's done. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm not going to bet him. He might rip off another MVP. He breaks the models. He breaks the numbers. He is that good, Brian.
The only reason I'm hesitant is because I'm actually worried about, like, the roster around him and whether or not they're going to have enough wins in the regular season.
Because Jamal Murray might be terrible now?
Like Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, Julian Strother, who I'm high on. It's time, guys. Like you're gonna have to do it now. No KCP. We'll see what Aaron Gordon can give him. But yeah, Nikola Jokic, he's probably still the best player in the world. I mean, I think the best challenger to that we've probably had over the last few months may have been Luka Doncic, and I'm not gonna watch what's happening now and say it's all of a sudden LeBron James. I think he's the best player on Team USA, but I still think Jokic, I mean, he's as good as anybody right now and just has been for a couple of years at this point, maybe more.
Yeah, no, it's what do you think? Let me ask you, what do you think of France Germany? Any big takeaway from that basketball game?
I thought Germany would win. They opened it at Germany -1, pounced on it, and it moved immediately to -3 and then 4. And, I think it settled at like 5, 5.5, 4.5, something along those lines. I thought Germany would win, and it looked like it was going to be that way. And then for whatever reason, their second half offense was just completely frazzled. Dennis Schroeder, couldn't quite get it going. At least he hit over 2.5 threes, but couldn't quite get it going in the second half in this contest. Franz Wagner, they shut him off for a while. Just the offense wasn't quite there. Like what Germany excels at is pushing the pace, getting guys in terms of the defense, getting guys out of rhythm on the opposite side. Dennis Schroeder being able to use his speed and, score in transition, help other guys score in transition. His playmaking wasn't really there. He only finished with like 4-ish assists, a lot of overhandling of the ball, finding guys who, weren't making open threes as well. And then France was able to defend really, really well. They're not playing Rudy Gobert as much anymore, and their defense has gotten better. That's a weird thing to say about somebody who's allegedly one of the best defensive NBA players of all time. But they've been better without Rudy Gobert, like flatly. They just have been. And they're probably going to also need Rudy Gobert against Team USA, which is going to be interesting because this is a bigger team now. So ultimately, we'll see. I still think Germany is the better team, and France won today. It's single elimination. They're also home, which is important. We'll see how that tilts things in the Team USA game, but I'm not sure France could score enough against Team USA. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they held Germany to 8. You're never holding Team USA to something like that in a quarter. It's just not going to happen. And I think one of the issues for France, and look, I'm incredibly high on Victor Wembanyama, it's the worst matchup for him. Like I know we've had a lot of, people had a lot of fun poking at Joel Embiid. He will eat Victor Wembanyama in a singular head-to-head matchup for lunch. He will, because that's what he's capable of, Brian. So, the 4 of 17 performance, France is going to have to get. This is kind of the case with Team USA in whole. They're going to have to get unbelievably hot from 3 in order to hang in this basketball game, and I don't really think they have the shooting to do that.
They faced each other in the finals of the Olympics 3 years ago. And Team USA only won that game by 5. Team USA won that game by 5. That was a worse Team USA. That was also a worse France. I feel like France, their rotations have just been weird. Like, we're not really seeing Bilal Coulibaly. Frank Ntilikina became a consequential player today. Victor Wembanyama obviously wasn't ready to be on the national team 3 years ago. Now he is. Wemby has to have a big game, I feel like. Isaiah Cordonier, who former Atlanta Hawks draft pick who never played in the NBA, has been really good these last couple of games. Evan Fournier is going to have to miss shots. I make shots. I think, these guys need to get really hot from 3, and Victor Wembanyama has to really step up in this game because I can see the pathway for Germany actually beating Team USA, though. I mean, the chances are slim, and we saw what Serbia did. Like I said, listen, if they actually hit their threes, they have a chance. They stopped hitting their threes, and the game went the way it went. I'm not sure that France has as much of a pathway as even those two teams.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's going to be fun to watch it play out. Brian, a pleasure as always. We got Joe Ranieri stopping by now. try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rourke, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. Kevin Walsh with you here. I'm joined by Joe Ranieri, and I just realized something as we were coming back from break. Joe, firstly, great to talk to you. It's been a while, sir.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute there, Sean. It's always a pleasure to see you. It must mean that football is around the corner, is it not?
So that's why I started laughing. The old he knows where I'm going with this. The football season schedule was Ranieri on Thursdays. I'd say, Joe, what do you think? And he'd go, should be a terrible game. Can't believe they're making me watch it. Give me the under. And the first time in legitimately months I talked to Joe on this show, it's a Thursday with 2 preseason games on. Hey, Joe, you excited to bet these bad boys?
No, absolutely terrible. I cannot believe they're forcing us to have to watch this on in-game live primetime coming up. I'm on the under in both in every quarter, half, and full game here, as trying to watch the Giants and Detroit, the backups, as well as the Panthers and the Patriots actually try to score the football. Might be the funniest thing I've seen all week right now, Walsh.
Yeah, listen, it's one of those things, and it probably just takes a while to get accustomed to it. But the way preseason football works is if you see a quarterback who you've ever heard of, right? You go, oh, man, we got good quarterback play here. And I was looking into this game between the Giants and the Lions. They're like, look, man, you might get Drew Lock for a half. Like, yeah, I like under in this game. He's terrible. He just got picked off by Detroit. And that, unfortunately, has created the most threatening situation of the game up until this point here. And it looks like, and again, these box scores get all thrown out of whack, but it looks like a strip sack fumble has set New England up inside the red zone. Did you bet either of these games here, Joe?
No, absolutely not. But I was looking forward to seeing if there would be any fights on the field with Detroit and the Giants, because it appears that that's what these two teams do best when they're facing one another. So I was looking for it to be a little chippy, but I was also looking forward to seeing any other game. Drake may come out there. I know Brissett was out there for a series, but I like May. I was a guy that liked him out of North Carolina. I thought it was a good pick for the Patriots to build around for the future. So there's a few backup quarterbacks in week 1 of the preseason, Walsh, I'm looking very forward to seeing. And one of them will be playing tomorrow night against the Miami Dolphins. So I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these guys adapt early on in the preseason.
Do you think that you'll bet kind of the preseason at any point? I mean, listen, it varies, right, between better to better. Like I went through as much as I could tonight. I have an under in the Giants-Lions game, and I laid 6 with the New England Patriots, right? Did I come on here screaming, running around? Listen, guys, I'm telling you, I make this number, No, but listen, I can put my hat on and kind of go to work and figure it out. Are you going to, at a point during this preseason, look to get involved with these games?
I'm actually involved in that game tomorrow with Miami and Atlanta. Okay. And a lot of the reason for me betting preseason has to do with how much experience am I looking at, how much depth at the quarterback position, and how much experience. When you look at the Dolphins, for instance, Mike White, we already very experienced. Skylar Thompson, been there forever, very, very experienced. Yeah. When you look at Atlanta, you're going to have Taylor Heineke. You're also going to have, of course, Michael Penix Jr., which I think a lot of people are going to be and see what's going on. I have some question marks, a lot of question marks about the Dolphins defense. I think the Dolphins have a roster battle for that, for a wide receiver spot. So, that game I looked at the over because I do think, and we know with Miami what we're going to get with experienced quarterbacks like that running the second and third units, much like we saw in the Hall of Fame game. I think we're going to get points. I think we're going to get a lot of points in that game tomorrow, but I'm looking forward to seeing Penix Jr.
Yeah, it's a good point there. It was kind of my thought, too, as well, looking at that game. I will say for tomorrow's slate, and we kind of probably have to wait for a little more information. And also, just take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt because it's preseason games. But I am a little surprised that the Steelers are a home dog and the Ravens are a home dog. Mike Tomlin is excellent in preseason and has won 8 straight games at home. And Harbaugh's even better. Like, the whole story is the Ravens always win in the preseason. I don't know if there is a level of information I'm missing, which is why I haven't touched either game. And if I'm going to, I will wait until, 3 p.m. tomorrow, right? Or sometime, Joe. Yep. But relatively speaking, I am confused by those lines, at least at the moment right now.
I agree. Listen, when it comes to Harbaugh, I don't care what's going on unless there is even if you're going to tell me the first and second teamers are all benched, hurt, I don't care. Winning is a culture with Harbaugh. He has created that in Baltimore for a reason because he believes there is you're not taking the preseason off because that carries over into the regular season. It's a culture there. So those guys are going to be ready to play. I'd have to see it to believe it. And having said that, I am hearing some very ominous things about the offensive line this year for the Baltimore Ravens. Not a lot of confidence right now. And obviously, if we're going to be throwing second and third teamers behind there, it worries me a little bit. But ultimately, I think effort is what wins in the fourth quarter in these preseason games. And I think you're going to get a lot of it from Baltimore.
100%. And I think that's kind of it's so weird. And if you just showed me, hey, the Ravens are at home tomorrow, preseason game, they're laying 6, I'd go, of course they are. They're the Ravens, and it's preseason. So then when I see a home dog, it's like, huh? And look, bettors can do this and be hypocritical from a week-to-week basis, right? There are going to be some who see that and go, oh, man, that's crazy. You could never I got to get the Ravens plus the points. And there's going to be some bettors who go, that line makes no sense. Give me the Eagles, right? And then all of a sudden it's just kind of down the middle action, right? It's a preseason game. So, but it is odd. Like, if you told me, Hurts is going to play and Lamar's, I don't care. What is Hurts going to The Patriots are already on their third quarterback. There's 4 minutes left in the first quarter. What do you think, Jalen Hurts is going to put 30 on the board tomorrow? I mean, what are we even talking about here? So, it's just it's an odd thing, but that is NFL preseason, right? And it's what we've come to know. I'll ask you this, and then we'll get off to football, Joe. Any takeaways or thoughts from the kickoff return rules from what you've seen? Again, minimal sample size, but any takeaways?
Listen, I think it's still to be determined, right? But I do believe there are going to be a handful of special team coordinators in the NFL. The truly good ones are going to figure out ways to use this to their advantage. And once you can identify those guys, Kev, those are teams you're going to want to look to bet on at some point, because even though Bill Belichick's not in the league anymore, this is something Belichick would have figured out an angle and an edge, and he'd be holding on to it until like week 4 or week 5. But I think some teams are going to use this and figure out a way to get an edge with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. I don't happen to think an extra 5 yards is going to matter on, if you're downing it in the end zone. I don't think that's going to matter very much, but the numbers will tell us quickly, I think.
Yeah, the only thing I hope is we, as the bettor, do not end up paying a tax on, oh, man, they might return that kick. Those are essentially supposed to be freebie bonus points that you couldn't have imagined actually getting. And if every game now that's supposed to have a total of 45 has a total of 46, it's going to come back to burn us. It's what happened when they moved the extra point back. Every single number's the same. All the numbers are key. Guys miss extra points, and you lose by the hook. And then people go, well, why don't you bet under? Well, I'm not going to bet under because I thought Mason Crosby was going to miss the extra point in the second quarter. I'm just not going to go about gambling that way. That doesn't make any damn sense. Let's hit a break. We're going to stick around with Joe Ranieri. We'll talk a little baseball. Is he betting the Olympics? It's a dangerous question with Joe Ranieri. We'll ask it next. Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
All right, preseason update. It looks like Drew Lock is injured. I don't have eyes on it. Hopefully it's not serious. But Tommy DeVito is going to hit the field a little bit earlier than anticipated. Drew Lock will finish 4 for 10, 17 yards and a pick. So nothing to worry about if you're Daniel Jones, if there was anything to worry about. Joe Ranieri's still with us here on Game Time Decisions. And, Joe, you hit on a couple of things actually during the break that I'm glad, because I think there's a couple of interesting things going on in Major League Baseball. And let's start with Paul Skeens, because
I have obviously, or maybe not obvious to some, been very excited about this Skeens run because I thought the 200-1 that was out there a while ago was worth the play. And then the next thing, the kid's, 2-1 to win Cy Young. What's your take on Skeens' actual chances to win that award?
I think everything is correlated to the viability of Pittsburgh in a postseason. And I think they lost again here to the Padres today. The fear that you have to have with the Pirates is that over the next 10 to 14 days, right, they all of a sudden they're 8 games out, 9 games out. And then you got to start asking yourself here, why? What you've got yourself a franchise pitcher, a cornerstone. He's an ATM machine as long as he can pitch. If there is no shot, legit reason to think you can make the postseason, there is absolutely no reason for you to continue to roll him out there until the last week of August, first week in September. 0. So I think you've got maybe 2 more starts out of him. And then at that point, the fear is we're not going to see him again until next year. And by the way, I mean, look, his numbers tell the story. Velocity down a little bit. This is the most he's worked in his career, the most innings he's pitched. It makes sense, man. It doesn't make any sense to keep rolling him out to squeeze every dollar over the last 5 weeks of the season.
So my thing is, and look, I'm prepared to be wrong, certainly. Listen, it won't be the first time. But they have not treated Paul Skeens the way I think all of us thought they would since calling him up. Like, my first Paul Skeens bet was under 104.5 strikeouts. I already lost that bet because the idea was it would look like the first start. He would throw 4 innings, and at this point in the year, he'd be lucky if he was getting past the 5th inning because baby gloves, right? And then they're like, actually, nope, you can throw 100 every single start. So my bigger concern for the Skeens shutdown, Joe, is not the Pirates stink. It's Sale and Wheeler have created too much separation. It's, look, Skeens just got lit up for 5. He's not winning the award. Now we have nothing to worry about because the way they've treated him, as long as him winning Cy Young still feels viable, I believe they will give him that opportunity. That's, again, I'm not saying a shutdown's not on the board. I just think the shutdown would be, look, he's not winning Cy Young. There's nothing here for us then. I think they'll let him win it, Joe, if he's still in that race.
It's a valid point. And the problem is, and we're talking about such a condensed time frame here, Walsh, that the variance of what could happen here is over the top. Because I'll tell you this, just answer me this. Who's the favorite if he doesn't pitch another inning this year? What are his odds to win the Cy Young next year? Are they even better than what they are right now?
It's, again, I don't know if Strider can come back healthy. He's definitely the favorite. I mean, you're talking,
right?
I mean, it's weird because it's a pitcher award. 4-1, maybe shorter, right? Like, I agree with you totally. I mean, he has, listen, and it's a point well made, right? Like, if somebody set the over-under career Cy Youngs for Paul Skeens, flat 2, is it 2.5? So, but also, the moment can always be now. I think, ironically enough, the next scheduled start is Saturday night in L.A. against the Dodgers. If Ohtani takes him deep and it's followed up by, hey, look who's back. Here's Mookie Betts. He took him deep and Freddie doubled. We're done. If he goes out there against the Dodgers and gives you 7 2/3 inning of 1-run baseball, I think it changes it. Here's what I'll say, though, and this has kind of been the frustrating thing because people have asked me, hey, do you want to hedge? No, because I don't know if it's Sale or Wheeler. There's nothing I can do with that whole thing, Joe. And that's kind of what's made it tricky. Now let's stick with Sale and the Braves. I placed a bet at the deadline on Atlanta to win the National League. I despise the bet that I placed. The reason I was willing to place that bet is I thought, well, listen, I know they're going to go to the playoffs. And then immediately, Ozzie injured, Ronaldo Lopez injured, losing streak. Crap. And for me, a very underwhelming deadline. And you were saying during the break, you think any panic button should be right next to any Braves backers with what you're seeing.
I listen, I know they got freed back, which is nice news, but, again, your good old AARP Charlie Morton out there today. You gave up 2 touchdowns. And you still go through these lulls of not being able to hit and to score runs in your own ballpark. I mean, the Brewers just swept you at home. And you had, your ace on the mound. So this is a concerning stretch here for the Braves. I was like you. I thought we can't sleep on them. Now is the time to back them. And you know why we thought that, Walsh? Is simply because it's the same damn team. It's the same lineup. It's the same guys. They've underperformed the entire year. All I need the Braves do is to live up to what their expectations are, and they'll win enough games to give themselves a shot to go forward. I'm worried now they're not going to win enough games even to be in the postseason. That's how bad it's getting right now.
No, again, that's it was really funny, but I think it was 2 days ago I was on here telling people, hey, I know you probably caught good Astros numbers. I don't want a piece of a team that I don't know if they're going to be there. And then here I am with these Atlanta numbers. Again, I placed that bet because I said, well, at least they'll be there, and that's all I really care about. And now I don't know if they'll be there. Look, I'm not going to cash out for a loss because they can still get in, and then anything can happen. But it's not been great. I'm going to ask Joe to stick around just a little bit more. We'll update you on the live board. He's live board. He's going to be live all night with in-game live. And just a couple of Olympic takeaways and things that he's maybe seen in the betting space around everything going on in Paris. That's next right here, SportsGrid. Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
The top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, man, it's been too long since I hung out with Ranieri. We're live with you right here, Game Time Decisions. Again, Joe's got you covered coming up here on In-Game Live. Joe, the one thing with the Olympics, man, look, it's from a viewing perspective, everybody's really excited, right? Betting perspective, from my understanding, I'm assuming / hoping yours as well, the money's with the basketball. That's what people are, because that's what people know. And today was, the
the best game of the tournament. I mean, all things considered, the U.S. to come back against Serbia, but it almost lost in the chaos, depending on what you had. I mean, they didn't even sniff covering, what was it, 16.5, 17.5 point line. They make the gold game. Have you been involved with the Olympic hoops at all?
Only first halves. That's where I've stuck with the men's team because, you know, and listen, especially against Brazil with absolutely no reason to have a point differential or to keep playing. I tried to avoid the full game. And P.S., they ended up covering the first half and the full game here. Today, I was looking to do the same, and boy, were we off there. I mean, give credit to Serbia and Joker. We should have probably sniffed that. This, you know, they'd already beat them, and the Joker is probably not going to lay down. And, boy, they were awful in the first half. They really were. But, my goodness, that fourth quarter will go down in Olympic history. And anybody who thought LeBron was done, LeBron has still got another gear when it matters to him. And he I should say this too, Walsh. And he trusts the guys around him. He is a different player. He's got another gear. And finally, you want to know why you start Steph Curry when he can't hit water when he fell out of a boat? Because of what he did here today. Because that's why you keep him on the floor.
100%. I mean, he kept them alive, and he scored 20 points in the first half of the game.
Yeah, it was crazy.
6 threes.
Yep.
So, yes, you know, and I was talking about, like, it was kind of underrated that he was terrible during the Olympics because everybody just doesn't like Embiid, which I get. But, like, you know, Steph deserved probably to somewhat be benched in this process. But, again, they didn't, and he was incredible. I mean, LeBron throws up the triple-double. I think the incredible thing, Joe, is I made this point to Brian earlier, but during the NBA playoffs, there were people running to go, man, look at this, passing of the baton, new league, LeBron, Steph, Durant, they're out. And then the chips are down, and Team USA goes, yeah, Tatum, do me a favor. Watch out, all right? Durant, let's go. And it's just, it's the old guys, if you will, who have to lead the charge. I do think one of the interesting things is, and they say that, you know, usually when it comes to Team USA, there's always a pairing. I just want to know if at some point Steph, Durant, and LeBron find a way to get on the same team before the careers are done. Because, listen, Durant and LeBron are not shy to moving around. I don't know if they'd have to show up in Golden State for Steph, but I wonder, Joe.
Boy, it was funny. As soon as they ended up winning it, the two guys that went and found Curry were Durant and LeBron. And the three of them were just high-fiving each other. That was the celebration. So, you know, they all had that look in the eye, that twinkle in the eye there, Walsh, going, all right, what do you think? Do we do this? Do we hop on a banana boat in South Beach? What are we doing here? Let's go. Let's go. Would not shock me, Walsh. Would not shock me.
You know, and again, they all have to go back to their teams. Meanwhile, the Celtics have 3 guys on this roster. And Tatum gets no minutes. Jaylen Brown didn't get on the roster. And it's like, yeah, we're back in Boston's world. Like, these guys, someone's going to move something around. They're not going to stand with that. Correct. All right, Joe, appreciate it. Good luck with the in-game live tonight, my man.
Yes, enjoy. Talk to you soon, Walsh. Thank you, man.
All right, great stuff as always there from Joe Ranieri. Again, keep your eyes locked tonight in this game here out west, Arizona, Philadelphia, man. I know Joe's going to be on for just a portion of that game. They'll have you covered live with the NFL preseason, man. No touchdowns yet still. The preseason, under. I'll leave you with this. This is how this goes sometimes with preseason action, okay? These 2 games here, let me see if I can grab you your live totals right now. Let's see, what do we got? 23.5 Pats, Panthers, 25.5 Giants, Lions. Barring a miracle, double unders are going to cash. All of a sudden, everyone's going to slam under tomorrow. 3-game slate, you're going to get 2-1 on tomorrow's slate over. And if it goes unders again, if I'm wrong, Saturday, it just happens because the numbers are going to get too low. It's not all going to look like this, but my goodness, does this look nasty right now out here in the preseason. Again, dial in somewhere, man. Maybe Marte, Turner, both to score a run parlay. You want to get simple and straight with it between Arizona and Philadelphia. Other than that, I will see you Tuesday. Enjoy the weekend. USA gold medal coming up soon.